Welcome to the Fucked Up Guides Fucked Up podcast, where we tackle a series of real life topics with humor, honesty, a sprinkle of fucks, and a shit ton of metaphors. I'm your host, and today we're unpacking Boundaries Part 2. But before we start, you may be wondering, why the Fucked Up podcast? Why the Fucked Up Guide? And what the fuck is going on here? Well, the Fucked Up Guide started exactly 6 months ago as a way to send a message to our followers on social media that they matter, meaning you matter, that with self love and self worth, they can do anything, meaning you can do anything. If you truly let go of the stigma, the ego, and understand that this whole fuckery we call life is a human experience. If you're up for the adventure, come with me on a journey of self acceptance, realization, and empowerment in this series. But before we dive into today's topic, I advise you that we're not medical professionals by any stretch of the imagination. If you feel you need medical attention, please seek a medical professional. We have learned and continue to learn from the school of life, and we are here to articulate the things we've learned in this life. And that means the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. We're here to entertain, motivate, and get you to think a little. And now that we got all of that shit out of the way, we can get this going. In episode 1, we discussed boundaries. Why are they so important? And strategies for setting proper boundaries. We asked our introspection questions. Who remembers their introspection questions? Geez, I can't even speak today. Show of hands? No, because I'm by myself in this solitary room. So we're going to repeat our introspection questions again. There you go. That's the ticket right there. All right. 1, what am I comfortable with? 2, what am I not comfortable with? 3, what am I willing to tolerate? 4, what I won't tolerate? 5, how much energy and effort do I want to give to others? And finally, 6, how much energy and effort do I need to keep for myself? We also discussed the following. Boundaries are your personal guidelines and limits. They're crucial for protecting your energy and well-being. Setting boundaries is an act of love for yourself and others. And we dabbled, I want to say more like a soft swab on mutual respect, which is vital for healthy relationships and effective boundary setting. And like I said in the last episode, this is true. That was truly an exercise of the self, meaning a me project, a you project, definitely not a we project. Well, in this episode, we aren't speaking French, but this is certainly a we project. Today, we dive into how your boundaries will be seen out in the world. We discuss how we uphold boundaries with difficult people, define what toxicity is, and how that affects us, and provide detailed strategies for sustaining our self-care. When we set boundaries in our relationships, whether with friends, family, or romantic partners, we show respect for ourselves and others. It's a way of saying, this is where I stand, and I value your space too. Yeah. And we need to talk about communication. And we will always talk about communication because really, this whole fucking exercise, this whole journey is based on effective communication. And we will talk about that in topics later to come. But there's also the point of self-communication, how we talk to ourselves, as well as how do we communicate to others. But that's all down the road if you stick around. So, clear, open communication. Now, that's the cornerstone for setting boundaries effectively. Imagine you've set a boundary with a friend about not discussing specific topics that may make you uncomfortable. How do you communicate this without creating friction? Like we said in our last episode, it's all about using I statements, expressing your needs calmly and expressing them effectively. The key word here, kids, is calm. When expressing your truth, your needs, your feelings, you must be the calmest person in the room. the likelihood of your message coming across and thoroughly being understood is much higher. This is the same thing as if in corporate America. When we make a change or we want something to change, we need to come in as the calmest people in the room, state our facts, and give our solutions. Well, think about it in your personal life. Effective communication, being the calmest person in the room, and delivering your needs. And with mutual respect and an open dialogue, you both come up with solutions. Now, I'm not going to tell you that there's not going to be challenges when implementing said boundaries. Hang on, I must hydrate. Perfect. Sometimes, if not most of the time, depending on who you're dealing with, they're going to push back. They're not going to understand our boundaries right away. I would say, depending on who it is in your family circle, in your friend circle, give them the grace because it is part of the process. You're learning to stand your ground. They're learning that you are changing, that you are learning, and that you are evolving. See, the strategy here is to stay firm yet empathetic. Validate the other person's feelings while still standing your ground. Remember, it's all about grace, it's all about empathy, but at the same time, you need to also stand firm and understand that mixture of being grounded, standing firm with your beliefs, while being empathetic with the other person. And remember, it's a learning curve for everyone involved. An example is a party I was invited to go to on New Year's Eve. That year was 2023 and 2022 were rough years. I had been going through some significant life changes, including being knee deep in the middle of packing for a move. And we were moving 7 states away. My priorities at the moment were ensuring I was supportive of my partner, who was handling the entire execution of this move, and providing my daughter with a positive experience. I declined the offer of going to this party. And keep in mind, to add a little bit more color to this was going to be the last real party or holiday or celebration where we would be all together until the move. And from there, obviously, we would be flying up or driving up or what have you. But here's the thing. I had to decline the offer. At that moment, I had to think about myself and the amount of energy and effort I had left after giving that energy to the ones that I prioritized. And I knew it would confuse, even irritate my family, but I needed to think about my pitcher. Remember, you can't pour from an empty pitcher, right? So I had to think about my pitcher, my effort, my energy. And I knew I was simply spread out too thin. Getting them acclimated to my boundaries has taken some time. It is still a work in progress. But I'm not going to tell you that there hasn't been forward momentum. There has. No matter how slow, no matter how quick, appreciate the baby steps. Be grateful that the people that really love you and care for you are trying to understand. Because remember, Rome was not built in a day. But if you take small steps, you can forge a stronger bond. Now, that pretty much covers people who don't understand, but yet they're still sort of in a healthy space themselves, and they're realizing now that you're learning, you're taking those steps into your journey of self-empowerment, self-acceptance, self-love, and really prioritizing your needs in this life. Now, when we're dealing with dysfunctional and toxic people, the key to upholding our boundaries is assertiveness. And for many people pleasers, or people pleasers in recovery, such as myself, that is a tough one to bear, because that means not only are you standing your ground, you're holding firm, but you're going to have to push back when the time is designated for that. But before we get into even that, let's define toxicity. I mean, really, what defines a toxic person? We keep hearing the term tossed around, right? Toxicity, dysfunctional person, narcissist, all of these terms, but we're using them, and I don't believe that most of us actually understand the term itself. And I'm not going to get into narcissism. That'll be another topic for another episode. But let's stick to toxicity and how it relates to the topic at hand, boundaries. So, you may also be wondering what exactly deems a person or situation toxic. Well, toxicity can manifest in various ways. It can come in the form of manipulation, disrespect, constant negativity, and boundary violations. These behaviors can affect our mental and emotional health, highlighting the importance of establishing these firm boundaries. And setting boundaries with toxic people requires clarity and assertiveness. It's about recognizing and honoring our limits, even creating distance and seeking support when needed. Because remember, boundaries aren't about changing others, it's about protecting ourselves. Now, challenges will come when setting boundaries with toxic people. And let's be honest with each other. You're listening to this podcast because you've probably either have had enough or you're seeking some sort of guidance, or you know what? Fuck it. I'm just basically entertaining you once a week, twice a week. So I'll take that too. But the reality is that because you basically you know damn well, and I know damn well that these types of people are going to try to are going to try to push back. They're going to try to gaslight us, and they're going to try to guilt trip us. And it's crucial to stay grounded in our decisions and not let their tactics fuck with us. Because what happens is at the moment that you're getting the gaslighting, you're going to start not trusting your decisions. And you're going to start questioning every decision you've ever made. And I think I speak for the overthinkers out there. How many times have you found yourself doubting what you've done, your choices, your decisions, based off of the fear and anxiety of the people next to you? And how many times have we been guilt tripped so much that we go back to old habits and we put ourselves last again? Yeah. We need to understand that we are the most important person. Why? Because in order for us to be of service to others, you need to set the example on how you're going to be at service for yourself. And, the other thing would be is if it gets to be something that you feel you cannot handle, then seeking guidance from a therapist, a support group can provide ample amount of validation um, and strategies on how to cope. And this is where medical professionals would help navigate the narcissists and the toxic people in your life, or how you react and how you feel. But please know that you're never alone. You're not alone. Like I said, you can always message the fucked up guide. You can message us on Instagram, you can message us on TikTok, and I will begin giving you guys our email address. And if you want to write it down really quick, and I can put it up on the screen eventually, you can email us at the boss, so THEBOOS altogether, at thefuckedupguide.com. We will answer your questions. We will even, if you'd like, answer your questions here on our podcast or on a TikTok live. And with that, we ask ourselves, so then what happens when we set boundaries with toxic individuals? Honestly, it's a fucking crapshoot. Some may respect our boundaries and adjust their behavior and, hence honoring our relationship. Others may or will react negatively, escalating conflicts or even severing ties. While this can be brutally painful, also understand it's a necessary step in prioritizing our well being. In this journey, you will lose people and find yourself analyzing every aspect of your life. Why the fuck, you might ask? Because once you begin to respect yourself, you won't fucking tolerate anything less from every other aspect of your life. I'm going to repeat that again. Once you begin to respect yourself, you won't tolerate anything fucking less from any other aspect of your life. So, throughout this journey, self-care becomes number one. Engaging in activities that nurture our body, our mind, and spirit helps us restore our batteries and build resilience. Surrounding ourselves with supportive, positive influences reinforces our sense of worth and the importance of our boundaries. You start to respect yourself, others will respect you. At that point, you know for a fact that self-care is a part of respecting yourself. And also self-awareness and self-compassion, which are also pillars of maintaining healthy boundaries. Being aware of our own triggers, our own limits, and our emotional needs allows us to set boundaries that serve us as well. Now, going back to our introspection questions, who remembers the introspection questions? Clearly, I cannot say introspection today. We're going to repeat it again, right? What am I comfortable with? What am I not comfortable with? What am I willing to tolerate? What won't I tolerate? How much energy and effort are you willing to use to deal with others? And how much energy and effort do you need for yourself? That's all part of it. That's what gives us that self-awareness, that self-compassion, because we know what makes us tick. We know what doesn't. We know how much we need in order for us to be healthy and for us to be of service. And we know how much we're willing to give to others. Additionally, practicing self-compassion helps us navigate boundary-related challenges with kindness and understanding to ourselves and to others. Don't beat yourself up. It's all part of the process, and it can be painful. So I ask, be very easy on yourself. Now, back to the term of self-care and prioritizing our self-care. We're going to dive into a couple of techniques that can recharge and prioritize our well-being, especially during those boundary-related challenges. In other words, the shit shows after you've come out and said, hey, I don't like being treated this way. This is how I'd like to be treated. First, prioritize your self-care activities, the ones that resonate with you, right? This becomes this is part of that you project, right? What pick a topic, pick something on how to care for yourself. And that could be exercising, that could be spending time in nature, that could be meditating, that could be journaling. Well, guess what? Or it could be all of them. But prioritize the ones that bring you the most calm, the most peace, the most joy, and really truly bring out the best in you. These practices, not only are they going to replenish your energy and your resilience, they're going to help you navigate through all the shit shows, not just the challenging ones, but just all the shit shows in your life in general. And you'll be able to be a little bit more empathetic, and you'll be able to be a little bit more self-aware of what about, your boundary violations, your conflicts within yourself as well. So I think this is a great practice for everyone. Additionally, setting aside time for self-reflection and introspection. There we go, introspection. can deepen our self-awareness and strengthen our boundaries. It's about tuning into our inner voice and honoring our intuition. I think many of us, especially those people pleasers and people pleasers in recovery, we often muted our intuition because we didn't trust our own decisions. And we needed to seek support and validation from those out there in order for us to be okay. Well, what we're telling you is tune inside, go inward, and really find your inner voice and really trust what your gut is telling you. Surrounding ourselves also with supportive and uplifting influences. That also reinforces our sense of worth, and it reminds us that it's okay to prioritize ourselves. It is always okay. You need to be okay before you can make sure that anyone else in your life around you is okay. Okay? There we go. All right. I had one okay that I wanted to blurt out. Okay. Now that we talked about self-care, toxicity, difficult conversations, let's recap what we've covered today. Boundaries in relationships. You basically say, this is where I stand, and I value your space too. Clear and effective communication is critical. When expressing your needs, be the calmest person in the room. Calmness and empathy go a long way. And finally, toxic behavior can exhibit itself as manipulation, disrespect, constant negativity, or boundary violations. Oh, here we go. And self-care is a top priority during times like these. Remember, you deserve to have people around you that love and respect you. You deserve to have people uphold your boundaries. Don't ever settle. This journey we're all in is not about being selfish. It's about being self-aware and practicing self-love, because you are fucking enough. You fucking matter, and you are fucking worth it. That's all for today's episode of the Fucked Up Guides, Fucked Up Podcast. Join us next time as we adopt our boundaries in the workplace. Oh, yeah. Romantic relationships, friendships, and oh, yes, family in our third and last installment of this series on boundaries. And obviously, we're going to deliver it to you with humor, honesty, a sprinkle of fucks, and a shit ton of metaphors. If you enjoyed this content, follow us here on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Patreon. Until then, take care of yourselves and keep taking care of yourselves like the fucking kings and queens that you are, because you fucking matter. Thanks for sticking around.